when you start to build a team, you give up your right to be lazy. Now that can kind of be like kind of shocking for some people to hear that. But if you start to build a team, you give up your right to be lazy. And it's because your team is watching you and your team is depending on you. Okay. And of course, there's always somebody that they can reach up to and over to get the help that they're looking for. But typically, we do a disservice to people if we're not leading from the front.
I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'm a live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'm a live it to death. Yeah.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Living Hope Agency call. I'm very excited for tonight's call. The topic of tonight's call is how to sell 10K in a week and also recruit 10 people in a week. So I'm very excited. And my background is unique to be able to talk about this. So I come from the network marketing and the digital marketing world. I was in network marketing for almost 10 years, digital marketing for 3 or 4. Everything that we did was all about either talking to friends or family or going and cold marketing to businesses. So I love Family First Life because just like we have the opportunity for warm insurance leads to raise their hand saying, I want help. We also have an opportunity to be able to purchase leads of people who are requesting how to sell life insurance. And also we have an opportunity that it gets people to reach out to us because the opportunity is so great. I spent so many years sending direct messages out to friends and family that I love the fact that we could build a big business without having to do that. I love this industry and I love Family First Life. You guys will learn that the more and more you get on these calls. And I think it's very obvious that when you come into Family First Life in this ecosystem, it becomes very apparent very quickly that there's no better place in the industry to sell insurance than Family First Life. But the preface of this call that I'll argue is I argue to say that not just anyone who's selling insurance should be at Family First Life, but anybody who is selling, period, should be at Family First Life. So that's how we're going to go ahead and start this call. So we're going to talk about recruiting. We're going to talk about building a huge agency, and we're going to talk about doing it all while selling at the same time. So if you guys don't want to do that, then this call is probably not for you. So guys, when I first got started in this business, recruiting and building an agency, it's really what attracted me to it. I saw the big picture of building an agency to create what we call true long-term stable residual income. So long-term stable residual income, wealth that would last for generations. And I pretty quickly realized that if I wanted to build a big business, that I needed to become good at selling insurance or nobody would ever follow me. So the first thing that I did is I focused on becoming a $30,000 a month producer while simultaneously building a team. And the first piece of advice that I guess I can give you guys is that no one wants to follow somebody who hasn't done it. Okay. And recently I had somebody reach out to me, somebody who has an agency that's maybe about half the size of ours. And they asked how we're growing and what we do to have such a high average premium per producer. And I asked them what they sold last month, and they said that they sold 20,000. Okay. And I told them that they need to be at the top of their leaderboard and they need to do more than the rest of their team to raise the lid for anybody that they bring into this business, because people will do half of what you do. So if you do 20, they'll do 10, because for whatever reason, they look at you when you brought them into this business. They look at you as somebody, okay, I can never do as much as they do. So they'll do half of what you do. So I go do 50, 60 to make sure that everybody's comfortable doing 20, 30, because I understand that most of the time people only do half of what you do. And by being at the top of the leaderboard, my warm market started to reach out to me because strangers started to celebrate me. I saw this cliche quote on Instagram. It was like, your friends and family won't start supporting you until strangers start celebrating you. It's like the weirdest thing in the world, because you join a new business and nobody wants to support you. And then strangers start celebrating you. And hey, shout out to Mike Curry, shout out to Alex Hale, shout out to Alan George for a huge week. Like, what the heck are you doing? Why are these random people that we've never met before shouting you out for this new business? What you're doing must be something worth looking at. So just by being at the top of the leaderboard, my warm market started to reach out to me. And it's crazy because I've been in this business now for 15, 16 months, and I have not sent out one single outbound direct message to start some type of transactional conversation to get people to join my business. That's the craziest thing, especially coming from the network marketing background. It was all transactional. So I've had inbound people reaching out to me. And then, you pair that with extra commissions that you earn. And I put that back into cold market recruiting strategies to create a consistent flow of new agents coming into my business. And it's funny because in previous businesses where recruiting was a huge focus, I'd never really been a big recruiter. But FFL is such a good opportunity that in 15 months, I've been able to bring in over 70 agents direct to myself, just from warm market reaching out to me and from consistently pouring into the cold market recruiting strategies, because I sell at a high level and I'm able to invest into my business, and I sell at a high level. So I get celebrated by strangers, not strangers to me, but strangers to my warm market on social media, that causes my warm market to reach out to me. Okay. And I think there's just this big taboo when it comes to building a team, when it comes to recruiting. When we think recruiting, we think multi-level marketing, we think friends and family, we think burning your warm market and bothering people. And that's the world that I came from. I used to be the guy who would try to recruit the server at Chili's. I would try to recruit the clerk at Walmart. I would try to recruit the kid at the kiosk at the mall, or I would be in my friends' direct messages asking them how they've been so I could ultimately pitch them on what I was doing. It was transactional. Hey, how have you been? How's life? Tell me what's going on. How are the kids? How's the wife? How's school? How's your job? By the way, I'm doing this new opportunity and I think that you would be really good at it. And that's how most of my conversations used to go with previous businesses. It was transactional. I love this opportunity for so many reasons, but what I was doing before, it was ultimately dependent on how big my team was for me to make money. So like I said, most of my conversations was transactional, and every conversation I had, the motive was to ultimately pitch them on what I was doing after I became friends with them. So I talked to the guy at the movie theater, at the mall, and or at the gym, I make friends with them. And then ultimately, later on, whether I waited or not, I was ultimately going to tell him about what I was doing. In this opportunity, it allows you to go out and find massive success on your own without anyone. So you can go out and you can just simply buy some leads, dial the phone, go to work, change your family's life without ever telling a single individual about it. That's incredible. Them joining your business does not determine whether you find success or not. Whereas previous businesses, it was all based on recruiting. If they didn't join me, if they didn't support me, I was gonna fail. So you can go out and find massive success on your own. And if you do decide to recruit, it's because you know that you can genuinely put someone into a better financial situation. And I think that's the mindset that we have to go into this call with. We can genuinely put somebody into a better financial situation, and we're honestly doing them a favor if we're sharing family first life with them. So we need to keep that mindset, because this is not an MLM, but you can build a massive team here, and it can create long-term stable residual income because you've taught enough people how to learn a skill set to basically make their own money at will. So I think one of the biggest things I want everyone to understand on this call is just the perspective of what's going on in the world right now. There are people out there all over the world. They're filled with fear. They're filled with doubt. They're filled with hesitation. They're looking for faith. They're looking for hope. They're looking for a plan. And they want to know, when they learn about this, can I honestly do this? And you can confidently say to them, if you're willing to work hard, you can do this. We have a system. And if you plug in and you do the work, you literally cannot fail. So just like we have the psychology behind calling leads that filled out the request and they're asking for our help, we need to have the psychology in mind that they aren't going to find a better opportunity to plug into than Family First Life. Okay. Now it brings me to just a quick story I'll tell you guys. So if you can't tell, my background is in network marketing and multi-level marketing. I got to sit down with one of the top network marketing coaches in the industry back probably about 7-8 years ago, a guy named Eric Worre. He wrote a book called Go Pro, How to Become a Network Marketing Professional. He has huge conferences with 20, 30, 40,000 people. Fantastic when it comes to recruiting and building a team. And if you guys haven't read Go Pro and you want to build a team, highly recommend it. It's on YouTube. It's on iTunes, Spotify, etc. But I sat down with Eric Worre at one of our conferences back in the day. And I remember he asked me, he goes, Jamie, are you going to make it? And I said, yeah, of course I'm going to make it. He goes, well, where are you going to make it to? Cliche, I'm going to make it to the top. He goes, and who are you going to make it with? And I started naming all these different people on my team. I'm going to make it with him, and him. And he said, stop. He goes, that's the issue right there. He goes, you still think that you're going to make it with your current team? The best person hasn't even joined your business yet. And I thought that was powerful. He's like, the best person. So whether even of your warm market, he goes, your best person's probably not even in your warm market. He said, you need to stop looking at people as a destination. Like, oh, I'm going to find a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50K producer out of this person and then I'm set. because I need to stop looking at people as a destination and start looking at people as a doorway. Every new agent that you contract into your business is a doorway to a brand new network of people that you would have never had access to. Imagine that you just simply recruited 6 agents and that's all you ever recruited. You're now limited to who those 6 people know and who they know, and so on and so on. And every time that you recruit another agent, you recruit a 7th, you open a brand new doorway to a brand new network with unlimited people. And every single time that you personally contract somebody into this business, you open up a doorway with exponential possibilities. Okay. So as you start to grow this business, you start selling, you start recruiting at a high level, you start earning some overrides, you start to realize that that long-term stable residual income, it can start to do a lot of things for you. It can start to pay for chargebacks. It can start to pay for your lead bill, and it can really start to help you get ahead, especially when you get into what's called a VP vice president bonus. So the one thing I'll say is that no matter what problems you're experiencing in this business, recruiting and selling will cure it. New growth, new clients, new excitement, new momentum will cure any problem that you have. Selling another policy or recruiting another agent will solve any problem you have in this business. It'll buy your leads. It'll pay for your chargebacks. It'll help you go on a travel trip. It'll get you to convention, that one commission, that one new agent. So it's important that, especially if you want to go and recruit 10 people a week and sell 10K a week, it's all about leading by example, because everyone's watching, and the people you bring into this business, they don't do what you say. They do what you do. So that means that we must lead from the front. That means that we must share family first life more than anyone. That means that we must be in the field on the weekends more than anybody, dialing the phones on dial day more than anyone. We must be filling our pipeline with conversations, because the one who shares the story the most wins. Okay, the one who shares the story the most wins. So here's a couple things practical that you guys can write down. There's 4 main stages to building any sales organization. Okay, 4 main stages. And we all find ourselves in one of these 4 stages at any given time. And you can flip flop between the different stages depending on how you feel for the day. Number 1 is building. Number 2 is managing. Number 3 is defending. And number 4 is blaming. Okay, so we've got building, managing, defending, and blaming. So building, we should be here 80% of the time. This is when we're in the field selling policies. This is when we're recruiting new agents. This is when we're helping agents recruit other agents and helping agents sell policies. Building 80% of the time, managing 20% of the time, promotion, recognition, encouragement, promoting these calls, promoting events, recognizing somebody for their success, encouraging a new agent. But you have to understand, promotion, recognition, and encouragement, they're not productive. They're active things that we do to build our business, but they're not growing our business. They're just encouraging people. Okay. So 80% of the time we're building, 20% of the time we're managing. What's the defending stage? Defending stage is when you start making excuses for why you're not further along. So this is what happens. You're building, you're in phase 1, and then you start to get a team and you start to tone it back and you start to just manage and you start to just say, okay, well, if I can just help Jonah sell a policy, if I can just help Brody sell a policy, I can just sit back. Okay. You start managing, you start just encouraging people, and you stop working. And very slowly you move from building to managing to defending. You're defending, well, I'm not further along because so-and-so is holding me back. I'm not further along because this and that. And then you quickly move into stage 4, which is blaming. Blaming the leads, blaming your upline, blaming the system, blaming family first life, blaming every circumstance that there is out there. And if you're blaming, you're on your way out of this business. And if you start blaming and complaining on a consistent basis, unfortunately, your upline will stop answering your phone calls. And it's nothing personal, but we can't afford someone just being negative to the rest of the team. There are valid things that happen in your business. There are valid challenges, but there's a mindset. You can ask for help. We can help you overcome a challenge. But if you're just a blamer and a complainer, unfortunately, someone's going to stop answering your phone calls. But if you're someone who is a positive person who is down to overcome a challenge, we're here to help every single step of the way. Okay. So we want to stay in stage 1 as much as possible. Okay. Understanding that in stage 1, we're recruiting new agents and selling insurance. That's the lifeblood to this business. So, what does that practically look like? It looks like leading from the front. I think it's important to know that if you decide that you're going to go from just selling insurance to actually building an insurance agency, building long-term stable residual income, when you start to build a team, you give up your right to be lazy. Now that can kind of be kind of shocking for some people to hear that. But if you start to build a team, you give up your right to be lazy. And it's because your team is watching you and your team is depending on you. Okay. And of course, there's always somebody that they can reach up to and over to get the help that they're looking for. But typically, we do a disservice to people if we're not leading from the front. Because if we're not leading from the front, you brought them in, they're looking to you to lead them, and you're hindering them. You're putting a cap on their growth. I talked about how if I don't sell twice as much as everybody, they're only going to do half of what I do. Well, it's hard to have somebody come into this business and want to do just better than you. So yeah, of course, there's going to be people who come in and they do better than the person who brought them into this business. That happens all the time. But most of the time, people will do what you do, not what you say, not what you tell them to do. So they're looking to you. Your goal should be to duplicate yourself into anybody you bring into this business. This business isn't hard. You don't need to be the best salesperson. You don't need to be the best sales trainer. You don't need to be the best at anything. You don't need to be the best dialing on the phone. You just need to be willing to put in the work, buy the leads, call the leads, go sit with the leads, either on the phone, Zoom, or in person. It's not that hard. If you're going to recruit, you need to simply be able to have a conversation, invite them to watch a video or come to an event, follow up, and help them get started. It's simple. We create duplication. Okay, duplication's in 3 stages. This is another thing you guys can write down. There's 3 stages of duplication. First, you're dependent, then you're independent, then you're dependent on. Okay, first you're dependent, then you're independent, then you're dependent on. So every new agent, you're dependent. You come into this business and you're in the learning phase. So dependent equals learning. I'm dependent on Grady to help me when I have a question in the home. I'm dependent on Mike to answer my phone call when I don't know what to do. I'm dependent on somebody to point me in the right direction until I've sat in my first 15, 20, 30 homes. And now I have a pretty good idea how this works. I understand that when I see, gabapentin and metformin, they're a diabetic with neuropathy, and I know I can't go Americone. I've seen that situation so many times. I know what direction I'm going to go. Okay. You see that so many times that you start to become independent. Independent is when you start doing things independently. Okay. So first you're learning, you're dependent, then you're independent, you're doing, and then you become dependent on, especially when you start to build a business. Now you go from learning to doing to teaching. Okay. You're teaching people how to do what you're doing. Okay. So from dependent to independent to dependent on. So a few practical ways that I think we should talk about recruiting. So there's 3 different ways that I personally find the easiest to recruit. Number 1 is obviously your warm market. Number 2 is your cold market. And your cold market can be random people. You can post on job boards like Indeed, Craigslist, ZipRecruiter, Career Builder, any of those, or you can join our Go High Level campaign where you can invest a portion of your commissions, $1,000 a month, to get 50 to 70 interested people a month. We're interested in working with Family First Life. I personally have 4 spots in that. So I spend $4,000 a month and get anywhere between, 200 to 350 interested agents every single month that I get to talk to, which is phenomenal. And then, so number 1, your warm market. Number 2, your cold market. And number 3 is powering down through your warm market. Okay. And this is the one we're going to spend the most time on. So when you recruit somebody, learning to power down or taproot, there's so many different words for this, but powering down through who they know and who they know and who they know. Because maybe I'm somebody who, I don't really have a big warm market and I don't have a big budget to invest into cold market. But if I'm going to build an agency and I recruit Alan, who does Alan know? Who are the most influential people that Alan knows? And how can I help him share this business with them? Because Alan's brand new and maybe he's not super confident in recruiting, but he can lean on somebody else who has already built a business, who has already sold at a high level, and he can leverage them for third-party validation. So he can, as he's getting started, learn how to sell while also having some people to come up through the ropes with him. And now he has a team kind of as this thing goes. So we're going to dig, like I said, into powering down the most for the majority of the rest of this call, just because it is the cheapest and most effective way to grow your business. And it's important to just understand that obviously, everything that we do, it's a relationship business. Okay. Relationship with our client, relationship with our agents. Everything that we do is a relationship business. So you have to realize, especially as you start to do this and you start selling 30, 40 appointments a week, sitting on 30, 40 appointments a week, and simultaneously recruiting, building a team, You don't have equal time to spend with everybody. Even though this is a relationship business, you don't have equal time to spend with everybody. So you can't spend individual time with everybody. But you can find the right people to work with by digging in with the agents that are already in your business. And you can also use the system, which we'll talk about here in a second, and you can plug people into group things. So this is a group opportunity. You plug people into something like this, individual time with people that are worth spending time with. Everybody is worth spending time with, and we'll talk about what that looks like. But at a certain point, you have to let them go off and do their own thing. So this is kind of a concept. It's kind of a mouthful, but it's called the dynamic of connectedness. Okay. I learned this in network marketing. It's just a fancy way to talk about building relationships with people. Okay. So it's all about being connected with the people you bring into this business. It's very, very simple. The easiest way to be connected with somebody is to just have absolute clarity on why they're doing this. Okay. Know what they want out of their FFL business and why they want it. The dynamic of connectedness, it starts with connecting with your people. Okay. So I think a very simple exercise for anybody who's building a team is just write down 3 random names of agents on your team and ask yourself, do you know why they're doing this with absolute clarity? Now, I'm not very great at this all the time. Sometimes I do, but there's so many people on this call that I could not tell you with absolute clarity why it is that they're building their FFL business and what they want out of it. And that's my fault. Okay. But a way that I can grow the business faster is by simply reaching out and finding out why they want to build it with absolute clarity and what they want out of their FFL business. And can I specifically articulate that out loud, what it is that they want? It's important to do that. And I think it's also important to know that as you go through and you find out why people are doing this, a sorting process starts to begin. You start to find out somebody who wants to maybe just make an extra couple $100 a month to someone who wants to be a $30, $40, $50,000 a month producer. You start to find your serious people, and we need to understand how to find the right people. You know, the system is a sorting process all on its own. I love Family First Life because it's not just, hey, buy a $500 box of products and you're in. It's, you have to get a license, you have to get contracted, you have to go through boot camp, and you have to buy leads. It's such a great sorting process because so many people fall off before they even make it through that. So if you make it through all those steps, you get your license, you pass your exam, you study for your test, you pass, you get contracted with the carriers, you do a background check, you get fingerprinted, you go through all of boot camp, which takes over a week. And then you buy leads, you spend your own money right off the bat without anything else, without you even telling me why you want to build this business or how serious you are. You've earned the right to anybody who bring you into this, their time, for them to help you, because you've done all of that. Now it comes down to how often is the time going to be spent with that person based on how serious they are about the business and how bad they want it. Okay. So I think it's important to try to find self-starters. It's important to try to find rising stars. And it's important that if you're someone who's new in this business, to identify yourself as a self-starter, to identify yourself as a rising star in this business. Because when you do that, naturally, myself, Mike, and it's not about me, anybody else is going to help you out.
Third option, the 10 people.
So anybody else is going to help you out when it comes to seeing a self-starter start to rise up in the business. Okay. So the goal is just to connect with people. You see a rising star or a self-starter in your business, connect with them, get to know them over time, have a strategy session with them. And as I'm sharing this with you guys, I'm also coaching myself, talking about new people coming to this business and what I should be doing. Okay. Have a strategy session with somebody. What is a strategy session? Figuring out why they want to do this business and how much money they need to make to pay their rent and pay their car payment. Finding out lead strategies in their area and helping them buy leads, making a simple plan of action for when they're going to dial and when they're going to run, offering support on live dials and telling them you're going to answer their phone call in the first 15 to 20 homes. And then kind of taking a step back and letting them succeed or fail, letting them go out and run and fall on their face or get some cool wins under their belt. And then coming back for another strategy session and just reviewing what happened. Plan, do, review. Here's some feedback. What can we do better? How can we adjust? Okay, that's a simple strategy session. That's something that if you haven't done, you should do. You should do that with the person who brought you into this business. If it hasn't been done with you, request that it's done with you. Just a quick strategy session to figure out leads, when you're going to run, and what's going to happen next. Go out and execute the plan, and then we'll review the plan, what actually happened, to give you some feedback on how you can actually go ahead and adjust. Okay, so last couple concepts from a leadership perspective. When we start building a team, especially when we start building in depth. So I recruit Mike, and Mike recruits Brody, and Brody recruits Gabe, and Gabe recruits Chris. Well, I think the problem that we have is that most people, you do what's called surface swimming. Okay. So this is another concept from, just different sales organizations I've been a part of. We surface swim. Surface swimming is when you contract somebody in your business, but you don't power down into who they contract and who they contract and who they contract. Now, some of you guys, this isn't applicable at all, but some of you guys who are building a business, this is very applicable. You don't power down. And where does that come from? It comes from two places. It comes from lack of knowledge, meaning I just don't know who's a part of my business. I recruited him, who recruited him, who recruited him, and I just don't know because I don't care. Or it comes from laziness. I'm too lazy to find out who became a part of my business. So I have a lack of knowledge or laziness, because when you start to do this, and I recruit 5-10 people and we're selling insurance and I teach them how to sell insurance and they start recruiting, duplication does start to happen. It doesn't happen overnight, but it does start to happen. Now we're at a point right now where I've gotten to where there are new people who join the business that I have not yet got to have a personal phone call with. That happens. I'd love to have a personal phone call with every single person on the team. It doesn't always happen right away, but my goal is always to make sure that it does happen. So it's just easier to talk to your leaders. It would be easier for me to just say, hey, Alan, Mike, Peter, Zach, Brody, Josh, etc. I'm just going to talk to you guys and you guys talk to the team. That would be so much easier for me, so much easier for anybody who's building a business. And surface swimming just simply means that there's no real dialogue going on with new agents. You're maybe plugging them into calls, you're sending them group texts, but you're never actually reaching out to them. And when you connect with people and you find out why they're building this business, you get a chance to find out who is just going to talk the talk and who's obviously going to walk the walk, who's actually going to buy leads and who's actually going to start putting in activity. And I get asked all the time, like, okay, you're building a big business. You have like 100 agents. How do you know who you want to work with? It's very easy to know who to work with because all you have to do is just watch what they do. That's it. People ask, well, when do I know if I found a leader? It's very easy to know. You'll know. All you have to do is look at their activity versus their productivity. Are they somebody that learns by doing and taking action? Or are they somebody who gets analysis paralysis and feels like they need to know absolutely everything before they take any action whatsoever? Learn by doing. And I think the biggest challenge we have when we start to build a team is we want it for other people more than we want it for that. We want it for our people more than they want it for themselves. Okay. We want it for our people more than they want it for themselves, but it's not our job to be responsible for them when they join this business. It is our job to be responsible for setting them up for success and being willing to work with them if they're willing to work, but it's not our job whether they succeed or fail. All we can do is set them up for success, plug them in, help them get the leads, help them make the calls, give them feedback, but it's not our job to be responsible if they actually dial the phone, if they actually go and sit with the families. So it doesn't matter who contracted them. If they're in your business, we power down. Okay. The question always is it easier to build a new fire or is it easier to throw some gasoline on an existing fire? It's much easier to throw some gasoline on an existing fire than it is to build a brand new fire. Go where the heat is and just, I don't like to drag people who don't want it. And you shouldn't have to like that either, dragging people who don't want it. I think it's important also to know that surface swimming, it comes from honestly being in corporate America a lot of the times because there's protocol. There's like a corporate hierarchy, so it's like we're trying to apply this corporate hierarchy to a business. And what I mean by that is, I contract Mary and Mary leads to Steve and Steve leads to Bill and Bill leads to Bob and Bob leads to Fred. But Bill, he's the most serious. Okay. And the mistake that I make is I try to work with Bill through Bob, through Steve, through Fred, through Mary. And I'm treating Mary like a leader when she doesn't know how to build her coach, when she's not actually selling insurance. And I'm figuring, okay, Mary will tell Bill to plug into the calls. Mary will get Bill to come to the convention. Mary will make sure that Bill bought leads. Mary will make sure that Bill got help in his first 15 appointments. No, that's where surface swimming comes in. The message gets diluted because I'm following this corporate protocol that I have to work with this person to work with that person to be able to work with the newest person. This is your business. So don't feel like you have to go through protocol to work with the newest agent. Power down as if you personally contracted every single agent in your business, and don't ask permission from anybody. Okay. You don't have to ask permission to talk to the newest agent in your business. Okay. So a couple of closing thoughts kind of as we go into this next week. Building a business and recruiting, it's delayed gratification. Okay. Selling is instant gratification. I could get on the phone right now and dial an instant internet lead and say, do you have 10 minutes to take care of this? And I could sell a $1,300 Americo policy and have it deposited in 48 hours. Or I could go and I could set an appointment, set 10 appointments for the next 2 days, go sit down with them and walk away with $5,000 in premium. Instant gratification. Recruiting is not that kind of gratification. And a lot of people give up on recruiting because it's not quick gratification. You have to follow what's called the 90-day rule if you're going to build an agency. Okay, so the 90-day rule, what you do now will pay you 90 days from now. What you do now will pay you 90 days from now. So if you don't have anybody joining your team right now, it's because you weren't recruiting 90 days ago. This process of getting involved, you guys all went through it, the licensing and the contract process. It's not overnight. It's kind of a pain in the ass. You go through and you get a license, you get fingerprinted, and you wait. While you're doing training and you're just hoping that the license number comes in, the contract number comes in, and then you finally buy leads and okay, it's go time. And that's like a 4 to 6 week process. So if I recruit somebody and I don't follow up with them, they fall out the pipeline, they're not going to end up joining the business, but I have a consistent flow of new people getting into class every single day. 90 days from now, the people from 90 days ago are starting to pop into the field. And now every single week I'm having the people from 60 or 90 days ago popping into the field. So it's like the recruiting that I did 60 to 90 days ago is starting to pay me today. So every single time that I see a lull in my recruiting, I say, I'm probably going to have a lull in 90 days. Or every time I have a lull in my business, I look back and say 90 days ago, I had a lull in my recruiting, didn't I? That's how it always works. It's important to know that in this business, selling is like hunting. Okay. And building is like farming. Okay. Selling is like hunting and building is like farming. One will feed you faster, but the other will feed you longer. So I can sell, I can go out and I can go hunt and I can bring home meat for my family today. But I go out into the field and I plant a field full of seeds, and that takes a season to grow. And it takes a season for me to harvest that. But one will feed me faster and one will feed me longer. So you want to build a business, you can make incredible money selling insurance, incredible money. My first 15 months, I was able to deposit over 400K. It's crazy. I poured almost all of it back into the business because I want to be fed longer rather than faster. I understand my goal is to build generational, long-term, stable, residual income, pour back into the team, pour back into the agency to create something that's really, that's worth it. Okay. So one will feed you faster, one will feed you longer. The other thing is consistency of recruiting, the compound effect. Okay. I've given this analogy so many different times in different trainings, but the analogy of the duplicating penny. So I asked the question, and I'll take it a different direction than some people have probably heard this before. But if I asked you the question, what would you rather have, $1 million right now or a penny doubled every single day for 30 days? Most people would say, I'll take the $1 million. But you guys obviously probably know which direction this is going to go. If you take the penny and you double it every single day for 30 days, by the end of the 30 days, the compound effect kicks in. It goes 2, 4, 8, 16, so on. And at the end of 30 days, that penny's worth $5.3 million. Okay. So this is the direction I'm going to take it. So consistency in that analogy, I consistently doubled the penny every single day for 30 days. What if I just changed my consistency and I went from consistently doubling it every day, consistently doubling it every other day? So from every day to every other day. So instead of doubling it 30 times, I double it 15 times. What's the difference? If I double a penny 15 times instead of 30 times, it's worth $163. So that's the difference of doing this business full-time or sometimes. Doing this business consistently or when you feel like it. The difference of $163 and $5.3 million, because your effort compounds over time. And every single time you start and stop and start and stop and start and stop, you lose whatever momentum that you were building up, whether it's recruiting or it's selling. Okay. So that's the difference between part-time and sometimes, full-time and sometimes. Last thing I'll say as we jump off of here is one of the easiest ways to speed up your agency growth is by bringing somebody to an event. We have an incredible event happening a week from yesterday, a week from today, we'll be walking out of Launch 2021, and it's going to be a fantastic event. 6 days from now, we'll have the meet and greet. Right now, it looks like we have, I think, 81 people registered for the event from Living Hope. which is going to be incredible. My goal is to get it to 100, even with just 7 days to go. I'm still pushing to get new people there because I understand what it can do for my business, for our business. I've invested probably close to $15,000 in hotels and flights for different people having financial hardship to make sure that they can get to this event, because I understand that I can buy my income. If I can get enough people to this event, it'll pay me back eventually. So I understand that. The number one rule about events is to never miss an event. And the second rule is to never come alone. So never miss an event, never coming alone. So if you're the person who's coming by yourself, I encourage you to just find a way to bring one person, just one person. Okay. If you're coming alone, just bring one. I'm not asking you to bring 10 people, but bringing one, that allows you to have some sort of a running partner, somebody that you're going to build this business with long-term, somebody who comes to this event. So you're not the person who comes back from this event as a changed person, because you will come back from the event changed. The mind once expanded cannot go back. You'll come back from this event and you'll talk to your friends and family and you'll tell them your goals and they'll think you're crazy. So you need to have somebody come to the event with you to just kind of corroborate the fact that you're not crazy. Okay. And you have somebody that you guys are in a local market together, where somebody, whether it doesn't even have to be local, but somebody you're close with that can be your running partner that comes with you. So if you're bringing just yourself, I encourage you to just find a way to bring one, put them on the sofa bed in the hotel, find a way, bring one person. Okay. If you're bringing 5, I encourage you to bring 10, just find a way. You never know what can happen. Somebody comes to the event, they sit in the audience and they make the decision. Some people, they'll sit in the audience and they'll make the decision, okay, FFL is not for me, and they'll leave. And that's fine. Either way is fine. You come to the event. I actually have people I've invited to this event specifically to find out if they're either going to go all in or quit. People that I've made sure come to this event, because I'm like, listen, you're either going to go all in after this or you're going to quit. Either way is fine, but at least you made a decision. Okay. People make decisions at events. Events change lives. You get a chance to hear stories. There's going to be 60 people, top producers and agency managers, training at this event. You're going to get to meet people in the hallway. There's going to be over 800 people at the meet and greet that's happening the night before. You get to have stories. You get to have new experiences, the relationships created, and your belief just goes through the roof. When you hear Sean Mike on stage, when you hear Pastor Matthew give the keynote, when you get to hear Andrew Taylor and Paul McLean and Trey Honeycutt and David Witchard and Nina Damjanovic and Alondra Topete and all of these incredible producers and agency managers speak and find out, the funniest part about it is you get there and you look at them and you're like, they're not much better than me. That's the decision that I've made at every major event I've gone to, is I look at the person on stage and go, they're not that great. Like, they're great people. They have great hearts, but they're not that special. That's always the thing that happens to me every single time I go to an event. Is I see the person who's further ahead than me, I go, they're not different than me. They put on their pants, left foot, right foot every single day, or maybe you put it on right foot, left foot, I don't know, but they put on their pants one leg at a time. They're no different than me. And if they can do it, I can do it. That decision is made for me every single time I've ever gone to a major event. And I see that decision. You can look around the audience with 3,000 people and watch as the light bulb goes off for people. And they make that decision to go all in. And they realize that none of these people are that special. They just have been doing it longer. So your job is just to get people there, to be there and not be alone. And I think it's important to just know that there's something that's called the campfire effect. Okay. The campfire effect, the closer you are to the campfire, the warmer you are and the more excited you get. The further you are from the campfire, the colder you get, the less excited you are. And the further away you are, you ultimately freeze and die. Okay. You have to stay plugged in. You have to stay close to the campfire. And the best way to stay close to the campfire is by coming to the events. This call right here, 44 people. This is a small little campfire. It gets us through to the next week. We have one of these every single week. We plug in and we try to stay warm, because this business, it can be lonely. You're building this business by yourself. I'm out in the field 4 days a week, doing 200-300 miles a day, dialing the phone from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Mondays and Thursdays. It can feel lonely. So we plug into these types of calls. We plug into live dials. We plug into the group chats, all of these different places to try to stay warm. You stop plugging into group chats. You stop getting on these calls. You get less excited. You get further and further from the campfire, and ultimately you freeze and die and you lose excitement and you quit. You come to one of these events, and another analogy is this, you're an iPhone and you're on 2% battery. I've been running in the field for the last 6 months and I'm at my wit's end. I'm trying to figure out the answers. And I come to this event and it's like getting plugged into the wall, plugged into the charger. And by the time I leave, I go from 2% to 100%. And now I can get myself from this event and I can let that charge last me until the next event in Miami in February. These events, they charge you up, they keep you plugged in, and they keep you warm. Grady Polson brought 200 people to the 2020 convention. Okay, at a time when his team was probably about as big as ours. Okay, about 100 agents. He brought 200 people, so that was agents and prospects. And a year later, his business did $2 million in premium. Some of you guys who are new don't know what that means. And then a year later, his business is doing about $6 million a month in premium. So for every 10 people that you bring to this event, it's worth $50,000 a month in issue paid for your team. Okay. So if you bring, or maybe even more, probably 100K, I'd say every person you bring to this event is worth 10K a month in issue paid. Every person you bring is 10K. So if you bring 100, you'll be at $1 million a month. You bring 10, you'll get a logo. Simple as that. Get 10 people in an event, you'll get a logo. I just challenge you guys to build an agency. I challenge you guys to sell at a high level. I challenge you guys just to apply the things that you've learned. Just know that I'm not special. The only difference between me and you is just I've been doing this a little bit longer, and that's it. And I work really hard. I buy leads. I put on my pants, left foot, right foot. And then I go to work. I dial my leads. I go see them. I do some over the phone, some on Zoom, some in person. And I try not to ever submit less than 10K in a week. And I set myself up for success because I always buy enough leads. So just remember, guys, there are millions of people all around the world that are filled with fear. They're filled with doubt. They're filled with hesitation. They're looking for faith. They're looking for hope. They're looking for a plan. They want to know, can I do this? And you can confidently say to them, like I said in the beginning of this call, you can confidently do this if you work. We have a system here at FFL that anybody can do and anybody can win with if they're willing to go ahead and put in the work.